What is going on, everyone? My name is Jared Haas, and yes, it looks different again. We're under construction here for the best seat of the track. I am here today with Phil Allaway, our IMSA editor, who is here at Talladega, Alabama. Phil, the race was rained out today, and it's unfortunate with that situation. Are you staying dry, and do you think NASCAR should have started the race like that?
Yes, I'm staying dry. I'm in the deadline room right now, and it doesn't leak in here. It's very solid, and I'm dry. As for whether NASCAR should have started that race, yes to the no. It was basically when they were doing the pace lap, it rained the hardest that it had rained in the previous 2.5 hours. So they lost that track quickly. I'm not shocked that they called it so quick because they were right up against it. I don't know if a lot of people realize this. Last year's race took 4 hours and 3 minutes to run. So, they were going to be right up against it anyway. Any real shenaniganry was going to put them in trouble with darkness, like the Xfinity race on Saturday. So I'm not surprised with the quick call because NASCAR always wants to get the whole race in.
I do agree with that too. They paid for 500 miles, the fans did, and they want to watch 500 miles, especially at Talladega too. Phil, I want to focus on something that happened at the end of the truck race too. We saw at the finish, some of the cars went under the yellow line, and NASCAR didn't penalize them. Do you think this was a little bit more inconsistency with NASCAR, or do you think this was just them trying to avoid the slower truck?
Well, if there's any issue that occurs around that yellow line, NASCAR does give some leniency. For example, if somebody's going to have a shunt, you can go behind the yellow line with impunity to avoid it. If you get forced down there, that's a whole nother issue. We've seen issues with that where people have caused incidents because they're trying to avoid going below the yellow. We've seen drivers basically run people down there in the grass. Looking at that right at the finish yesterday, I didn't really see anything wrong with what NASCAR did. It was just bonkers because of everything that did happen.
Yeah, that truck race was an excellent finish too. And I want to pivot. You might have some breaking news about some 2022 plans for some drivers. You want to care to explain that?
Yeah, with the sheer amount of wrecks we had yesterday, I spent a lot of time back and forth between here and the Infield Care Center, which is on the other side of the truck garage, bit of a haul from here. I'll start off with Tyler Ankrum, who, when we reported on Grant Enfinger's new gig with GMS Racing, I talked with Mike Beam at the time and asked him about some of the drivers with the team and what their plans were. He thought that Tyler Ankrum was going to get another gig with a different team. I asked Tyler about that, and he said that he's pretty much got something set, and there'll be an announcement in a week or two. He did not give any clues as to where it would be or even what series that it's in, which is interesting. Which means he could be moving up to the Xfinity series, or he could be doing something else altogether. Lawless Alan, who was driving the 45 for Nice Motorsports, he told me that he will be full-time in the Camping World Truck Series next year with his current sponsorship, autoparkit.com. They're looking for some additional backing to supplement that. He doesn't have a team to announce yet, but that he's going to be there full-time. Kris Wright with Young's Motorsports is in a somewhat similar situation. He will be back full-time next year. He doesn't know if it's going to be Young's Motorsports or not, although he does like racing with Young's Motorsports, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything, unfortunately.
Zane Smith. Yeah, that's pretty interesting to know. At least we got teams that are, like I said, there's drivers and sponsorships lined up, but we don't have teams. So we have, so far, Tyler Ankrum not looking likely to return to GMS Racing. We have Kris, Wright, and Lawless Alan going to be returning to the Truck Series with sponsorship, but uncertain about their team. And you are going to start talking about Zane Smith.
Yes, I talked to Zane Smith as well. Mike Beam on Friday said that he was still working out what he was going to do. Zane made it sound, when I talked to Zane, he made it sound like he was, quote, outright looking for work. So take that for whatever you want to take it. But it's not looking good for Zane to be back in the 21 either, if he's, quote, looking for work. I mean, Mike Beam told me on Friday that he was uncertain how many trucks GMS Racing was going to run next year. We already know 2 for sure. 23 with Grant Enfinger, which we have a nice article about on frontstretch.com, and 24 for Jack Wood, who's going to be full-time and had an absolutely terrible race Saturday because of with problems in the opening laps.
Yeah, he unfortunately couldn't finish that too. And there's a lot of moving parts with GMS too, with their move up, and like I said, trying to figure out how many truck teams they can do with that now.
Oh, yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see in the next couple of weeks on there how this story is going to unfold with who's going to be driving, who's not going to be driving with GMS. But we can tell that, like I said, one of them is probably going to be at least a championship contender by the end of 2022. So, Phil,
oh yeah,
I want to do my favorite segment. It's called Bumper Stump. And it's good old trivia question. So you know how in the Truck Series, no championship contender playoff driver won at Talladega? But the Cup Series is quite the opposite. It's been pretty consistent with playoff drivers winning at Talladega. Who was the last driver to win at Talladega and not be a playoff driver? So we're just looking at the fall Talladega races.
Right, because it wouldn't matter for the spring. But let me think for a moment. Blaney won in 2019. I'm thinking, and there's been a lot of Keselowski victories and Logano, and it's a lot harder when you don't have stats in front of you. But
and I'll give you this hint: there was a pretty big wreck that finished that race. That was a car that went airborne.
I'm a little stumped. I think it's 2012 though.
It's actually 2013 with Jamie McMurray. That was the race that the 14 car with Ty Dillon driving after Tony Stewart was out of it. He won that race, and he was the last.
Yes, I remember he got put in a wall on the back stretch, and then he got killed, and the thing ended up going like
it went crazy on that too. But that is the last time a non-playoff driver has won it at Talladega too, which is an interesting stat. So Phil, unfortunately, we got.
It's kind of interesting knowing that Talladega is so chaotic. In recent years, it's really trended towards like the cream of the crop winning races. Mm-hmm. I mean, in 2013, the spring race saw David Reagan and in a front row 1-2. And I remember predicting that for front stretch at the time. Mm-hmm. Today we have Friday Face Off on the site and sort of curated input questions and so on and so forth. That replaced the column called Mirror Drive, where we do a chat on Monday nights, typically using AIM or Trillion or whatever the deuce chatting messenger app thing was available at the time. And at the end of that, we do picks each week, and I decided to go out on a limb and pick Reagan. Probably the best pick I ever made for a race.
I mean, there is some unpredictability with Talladega too. I want to wrap it up with our picks of the week too. I know like I said, there's unpredictability at that front, but there's also playoff drivers that have contended well. My pick of the week is Joey Logano. He is, like I said, he had some bad luck in the spring too. seems like the Fords have been consistent at getting up to the front and being up there at the end. I think it's Joey Logano's turn to secure the win. Phil, who are you picking to win the YellaWood 500?
Holy Christ, there's so many dudes to pick from out here. If it has to be a playoff contender, I'm going with BK to get number 7 at Talladega, which will put him in standalone second place all time behind the deity. And you know who that is.
Oh, yes. Yeah, like I said, it can be playoff or non-playoff.
All right. In all honesty, outside of BK, I've been looking at Bubba. I think he's shown a lot of pace on the plate tracks this year, last couple of years with RPM. I truly feel like he's due, and heck would go down if he actually did it.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting to see Bubba's stat lines. He's had an underwhelming season so far, but he's performed well at these super speedways. I look at Daytona and the duels too, and even in the past, if there's going to be a bounce back for the number 23 team with Bubba, this would be the track to do it. Phil, I do appreciate the time for you to join us today to get us prepared for the YellaWood 500. And for everyone here on FrontStretch.com, you can follow us at FrontStretch. You can follow Phil at Critic84. And you can go to the Front Stretch YouTube page, like, and subscribe our content. Thank you very much, and have a great day.